cobarde, no se meta con el hombre de a pie. Venga por mí. Aquí lo espero en Miraflores. No se tarde en llegar, cobarde. Venga por mí, cobarde.
A few moments later.
Take a look at your screen. We start tonight with this new video of ousted Venezuelan leader Nicolás Maduro in handcuffs being walked into the DEA office in New York. Maduro processed and fingerprinted tonight, now preparing to face criminal charges here in the U.S.
You win? You have a problem with that? You know what you should do? You should sanction me. Sanction me with your army. Oh, wait a minute. You don't have an army. I guess that means you need to shut the fuck up. That's what I do if I don't have no army. I would fuck up. Shut the fuck up.
What's up, everybody? It's your girl Mika, and you're watching the Red Cup Podcast, where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. What's up, everybody? It's your girl Mika, and we're back for another Red Cup Talks, because this is where truth, pop culture, and politics meet. And I want to say Happy New Year. It's Monday. You know, I didn't get to do my New Year's thing, so Happy New Year's to everybody. I hope you had a great New Year's. Happy New Year's. It is 2026, and we are starting the new year off right, okay? With all the controversy you can get, all the news you can get. Pop culture is popping, all right? Politics is popping. I'm laughing because every time I see that Dave Chappelle skit about the UN, it is hilarious because it's funny, right? The UN been popping stuff all weekend. We're not listening to it. Yeah, I think they should shut the F up. Absolutely. Because the UN, I don't, honestly and truly, I don't even really know why it exists, because if every country is sovereign, we'll get there. Anywho, happy New Year's to everybody in the chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for pulling up. I hope you enjoyed your weekend. Let me know where you're from in the chat. Let me know how your New Year's was. And we're going to get into everything. Let's do a quick roll call. Thank you so much to everybody in chat. Thank you to all my mods, Yakar, Magnetar, Sugar Shane. I see you guys. Thank you so much. I see everybody. Cuba is next. Yeah, Cuba. Okay. La Habana. Yes, they're next. Absolutely. You know, those is my people. Okay. My people. All right. And so here's the thing about Cuba. Cuba gets gets mostly everything from Venezuela, okay? So when people like to talk about Latin America and they don't know what they're talking about, it makes me enraged, okay? Because if you have ever been to Cuba, which most Americans have not because they can't go, okay? I go all the time. But most Americans have never been to La Habana, which is Havana, Cuba. Okay, they never been there. And they don't know how it actually looks, how it actually is. They think socialism is something great. Okay, it is not. I don't know why, but we'll dispel all of that today because it absolutely gets on my last nerve. But anywho, I just saw that in the chat. What's going on? What's going on, Luby Fishing? What's going on, Dion? What's going on, Alicia? What's going on, everybody that pulled up? Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Mike, that dude, in the Cash App. I appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, we're starting the new year off right, so I appreciate that. Thank you for everybody that's pulling up. I see you guys in the chat. What's up? All right, so today we are going to get into some things. We're going to get into, of course, Venezuela. Okay, we're going to get into the VP of Venezuela. We're going to get into Maduro. We're going to get into Tim Sugar Walz, okay, a.k.a. Elmer Fudge. We're going to get into him. We're going to get into the white liberals that are on my last nerve. They've been on my last nerve. You know, you guys know how I feel about white liberals, but they're absolutely getting on my nerves. Okay, especially the white liberal women. Absolutely on my nerves. So we'll talk about them as well. We'll get into the people of Venezuela. We'll get into the people of Cuba. We'll get into a little bit of the history, you know, behind the oil, all of that, America's, you know, influence in Cuba. We'll get into all of that today. All right. What's going on? What's going on? It's a cold day. It's a cold day. It's a cold. You know, look, we can turn it on and off. Okay. That's why if you pull somebody over, all right, I'm going to just tell you a secret. If you are a police officer and you pull somebody over in America and they go, papi, no inglés, they're lying. Okay, they're absolutely lying. Okay, just speak English real well. All right, absolutely. Y'all are wild in the chat. All right. All right, let's get into some of our first little topics here. All right, let's go straight into it. So, Tim Sugar Walz, aka Elmer Fudge, has decided to quit. Okay, and it got me to thinking. Tim Walz is quitting. He says he's not quitting because of everything that's going on. He just wants to focus on that, and that's more important than the election, yada, 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 yada. But in my honest opinion, it's because of that. But I think he's the fall guy because in my research, I've found that this has been going on for a very, very long time. Okay? And so with that being said, why is Tim the fall guy? Why is he being made to be the fall guy? And I think he got that call from the Democratic Party. He absolutely did. Okay, because there's absolutely no way that Tim Walz would not want to be the governor again. But it's too much. All right, the people feel scammed. Let's just be frank. The people feel scammed, and the Democrats, okay, or the liberals, they won't tell you, you know, that they feel scammed. But let's be clear, they feel scammed, especially those white elite liberals. Okay, they absolutely feel scammed. So I want to go ahead and get into Tim Walz, all right? But I want to get into this because I thought this was very, very, very interesting, all right? I want to get into some of the judges in Minnesota and what they did with the Somalis, okay? What they did when they had absolute evidence and proof about what the Somalis were doing. All right, here we go. Let's get into that, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Multiple Minnesota judges are under fire for dismissing several recent Somali fraud cases. They are Judge Sarah West, Judge Amber Brennan, and Judge Hillary Caligari. The Hennepin County judges, because of their decisions, have allowed millions in alleged Medicaid theft to go unpunished. For example, the Hennepin County jury unanimously convicted Somali migrant Abdul Fattah Yusuf on 6 counts of aiding theft by swindle in August after deliberating for just 4 hours. He stole $7.2 million from Medicaid. Jurors described the evidence as overwhelming, with the foreperson saying it was beyond a reasonable doubt based on financial records, witness testimony, and patterns of fraud, diversion. However, in a reversal, Judge Sarah West arbitrarily set aside the jury's verdict and entered a judgment of acquittal on all counts. West ruled that the prosecution's evidence was circumstantial, even though they proved that Yusuf had control over the company and directly received over $1.1 million in transfers. She ruled that they failed to exclude every possible hypothesis of innocence. Judge Brennan dismissed all charges against Lul Ahmad, Yusuf's wife, and alleged co-conspirator, saying there was insufficient evidence before trial. This kept any evidence of documents showing her involvement in check cashing and fund transfers tied to the scheme from going public. Judge Caligari threw out the case against co-defendant Mohammed, who faced racketeering and theft charges for his role in a connected home healthcare operation that allegedly stole over $1.8 million in ineligible Medicaid reimbursement.
And as you see, what did all these judges have in common? We all know it. You can go ahead and say it with me in unison. White liberal women. I cannot, like, I can't take them. They have absolutely no idea. Well, no, they do. Okay. They want to destroy the white patriarchy so bad that they are willing to let criminals go ahead and defraud everybody, including their own constituents. Okay. People that actually vote these people in. Okay. Democrats, they are allowing the Somalis to go ahead and rob their own constituents. Like, you can't make it up. All right. So now let's get into some whistleblowers, because the Somalis, let's be clear, it's not just people on the outside that have told on the Somalis. It has been people on the inside. Okay. And I want to get into one of the whistleblowers from 2022. Because, like I said, Tim Walz is not the only person that, you know, should be condemned for this. He's not the only politician, I should say. Here we go.
Flaunted on social media. A tray of gold on display during a Somali wedding in the Twin Cities.
All of a sudden, there was a boom, and people were buying very expensive homes and posting about those homes.
Where was all the money coming from? A member of the Somali community in the Twin Cities believes he knew about what could be one of the largest meals program fraud in state history.
Everybody knew, but nobody had the courage to speak about it because they understood the repercussions. So I decided to speak out. People started showing off cars, money, and expensive equipment on Facebook and Snapchat.
His skepticism heightened. Shortly after schools shut down in 2020, the government loosened guidelines on meal sites to help kids. The USDA allowed school meals to be bundled in multi-day packs and consumed off-site. It also allowed restaurants to participate as meal sites or vendors. At the same time, to limit the spread of COVID, inspections of meal sites were reduced. The Minnesota Department of Education oversees school meals as well as nonprofit groups, including Feeding Our Future, which is now at the center of a federal investigation. In late January, the FBI raided 14 properties linked to the nonprofit. FBI search warrants alleged the nonprofit and several food sites it worked with misspent millions of federal dollars to purchase real estate, cars, and other luxury items.
And as it got worse, I saw that the food they were giving, they started not paying attention to it. It was being left in the streets and not being distributed properly.
Bank records show the business owners used federal dollars to purchase this multi-million-dollar building and this million-dollar home. The investigation revealed Feeding Our Future Executive Director Amy Bach received a large sum of money derived from federal child nutrition program funds. Bach then deposited the check into a personal account held by her and her ex-husband.
The people in there told us Amy knew everything, step by step. She just wanted it to be hush-hush.
October of 2021, Feeding Our Future claimed to have served more than 50,000 meals out of this small one-story building in South Minneapolis. The amount of federal money going through the local nonprofit skyrocketed from $3.4 million in 2019 to roughly $200 million in 2021. The Department of Education moved to immediately terminate the nonprofit and issued a pay stop. But Feeding Our Future sued MDE.
On April 21st, 2021, a judge told MDE that it did not have the authority to stop payment to Feeding Our Future and needed to continue paying Feeding Our Future claims. On April 2021 is also when MDE began working with the FBI.
You see what I'm saying? Those liberal judges keep doing this. All right. How does a judge do that? The government finds out something. A judge comes in and says, no. You can't stop doing what you're doing. Keep it going. Keep the party going. It's absolutely insane. Okay. It's insane. And this is why we have so much fraud. Again, you have the liberal white woman, okay, over there working with these people, okay, to commit the fraud, and she's getting paid and they're getting paid. All right. And then you have these judges who are also in on it. And of course, they are liberals. It's absolutely insane. Like, you can't make none of this stuff up. everybody's in on it. So we fast forward to today, where we have Tim, Elmer Fudge, Sugar Walz now resigning. And I want to get into the local news broadcast on this, because I wanted to hear what the local news had to say about it. Okay, not China News Network, not BS Now. I wanted to hear the local news and see what they were saying on the ground. And here it is. All right, here we go.
Let's start with this big news, though, of the day. Governor Walz dropping out of the race for governor, no longer seeking that third term. He announced his re-election campaign. It was just 4 months ago, and it was under this fraud microscope that's been on Minnesota. The governor saying that he can't give a political campaign his all. An extraordinarily difficult year for the state, he said. And he did give a bit of a statement. He kind of just read from his prepared statement, didn't take any questions here just a short time ago. On the other side of just a clip of this, we're going to talk to political analyst Blois Olson and then also our Corin Huggard at the Capitol. So let's play you a part of this prepared statement by Governor Walz just a short time ago.
2026 is an election year. Election years have a way of ramping up the politics at a time when we simply can't afford more of that in Minnesota. In September, I announced that I would seek a historic third term as Minnesota's governor.
You did.
And I have every confidence that if I gave it my all, we would win the race. But as I reflect on this moment with my family and my team over the holidays, I came to the conclusion that I can't give a political campaign my all.
Big Nancy.
Every minute that I spend defending my own political interest would be a minute I can't spend defending the people of Minnesota against the criminals who prey on our generosity and the cynics who want to prey on our differences. So I've decided to step out of this race, and I'll let others worry about the election while I focus on the work that's in front of me for the next year. I'm passing on this race with zero sadness and zero regret. I did not run for this job to have the job. I ran for the job to do the job. Minnesota faces enormous challenges this year, and I refuse to spend a single minute doing anything other than rising to meet this moment. Minnesota has always come first and always will.
All right. Political reporter for Fox 9, Corin Huggard, is with political analyst Blois Olson at the Capitol. You were there. Blois was there. No questions by media allowed today. Reaction from you guys, Corin?
Why she keep laughing like
Amy,
that?
let me just let Blois do the talking here. You heard it from Blois first. Blois, can you?
Hold on. This is disrespectful. This is absolutely disrespectful. Not only was she laughing, okay, my man right here is laughing, and it's like they already know. They already know. It's all cap. Okay, they absolutely already know. They're like, come on, man, come on, like be serious. Okay, she came out of that laughing. Okay, she was just laughing, and then we go to this reporter and he's laughing. Okay, it's absolutely insane. They all I don't know, they all know something that we don't know, but he absolutely deserves everything he got. Okay, and I'm talking about Tim Walz. Here we go.
Kind of examine why the governor made this decision? I don't think there's just one reason. I think you have to look at a multitude of reasons. First and foremost is, once you go through a grueling election and you win, then you have to serve 4 more years. And how do you have energy for that? There were a lot of questions.
You want me to rewind it? I got you. Because she was laughing.
By media allowed today. Reaction from you guys, Corin?
Yeah, Amy, let me just let Blois do the talking here. You heard it from Blois first. Blois, can you kind of examine why the governor made this decision? I don't think there's just one reason. I think you have to look at a multitude of reasons. First and foremost is, once you go through a grueling election and you win, then you have to serve 4 more years. And how do you have energy for that? There were a lot of questions. You and I talked at the fair about, did he have his heart in it then? He's had a tragic year with the killing of
Melissa Hortman, the Annunciation shooting, you add to that COVID, a vice presidential run. His family, his team has to be exhausted. And then you take a look at the last 3-4 weeks and you start to see that this fraud story is not going away anytime soon. As he said today, he's going to have to talk about it all the time. And every minute he talks about that and trying to run for re-election is a minute he doesn't get to focus on his priorities. So I think the writing was on the wall. I think he really started to probably feel it. And my sources tell me that starting late last week, the family started to have real conversations about running again. And I do want to just say, like, we have to always look at the human side. This is an exhausting job. The toll on his family since he was named VP running mate. Look, you got to say that, peel away the politics and understand that this is a tough decision no matter what.
Yeah, a human being who for 20 months has been under the microscope. And, fraud has been the focus here in Minnesota for quite some time now. Every press conference I've attended over the last 4 months or so where the governor was present, fraud was one of the questions. And now we pivot to seeing the GOP hoping to kind of spread the blame for the fraud throughout the DFL. And I'm wondering if there are candidates out there potentially who aren't as impacted by that.
Look, Senator Amy Klobuchar is the dean of the DFL. She's, got approval ratings just under 50%. She would clear the field most likely if she chose to run for governor. And she's been in Washington, so she can say I wasn't part of state government. Now, having said that, I think that fraud is still going to be a story. And you start to combine the last few years of fraud, an $18 billion surplus, and Democrats are very nervous about the impact in a tough economy when we show a budget deficit in the future of where their solution is, where their cuts are. Cuts will uninspire their base, and tax increases on the table would turn off independence.
And that's exactly what's going to happen. Okay, that's exactly what's going to happen. He's saying it no, that's what's going to happen. It's going to be just like New York. It's going to be just like California. It's going to be, LA, but California as a whole. But it's going to be just like Chicago, okay? All those high property taxes, all those taxes. It's going to be just like Maryland, where I live, okay? I live in the state of Maryland, and Maryland cannot get a hold of this budget deficit that, bald-headed Westmore put us in, okay? Bald-headed Westmore put us in a budget deficit, and every time you turn around, he's trying to solve for it by doing a tax hike of such. He comes up with taxes. Oh, let's do a walking tax. You walk on, the grass in the urban cities too much, and so we have to protect the grass. Taxes. That's what they're going to do over there in Minnesota. That's what they're going to do. So he's absolutely correct, and the Democrats, this is not good. This looks bad for them. Absolutely. This is pretty devastating for them. So you guys, you let me know what you think about, sugar walls, and let me know what you think about all of that. Okay. Because this is absolutely devastating. Okay. Absolutely devastating. So you guys get down in the comments and let me know what you think about it. And let me know what you think about it here in the chat. Okay. So you guys, let's move on because we have a lot to get to. I want to get on to let's get into the vice president. Okay. The vice president. Let's get into that. Hold on 1 second, you guys. Let me figure this out. All right, hold on, because it's doing it again. All right. So you guys, let's get into the vice president of Venezuela. I want to get into the vice president of Venezuela, okay? So if you haven't realized, the vice president of Venezuela is, she's been talking a lot, okay? She's been talking a lot of junk, but I want to get into what she had to say before. Okay. I want to get into what she had to say, I guess a couple of days ago. All right. And then we'll come back and talk about it. But I want to get into what she had to say a couple of days ago and all that boasting that she did only to fold. Okay. She's bending the knee to Trump. But let's get into what CNN tried to do with it. All right. And let me know, you guys, if you can't hear it, because StreamYard is going in and out again. So let me know if you guys can't hear it, but let's get into the vice president and then of Venezuela, and then we'll come back and talk about it. All right, here we go.
Moving moment by moment out of Venezuela, the de facto leader there has now for the first time appeared on camera, demanding the immediate release of Nicolás Maduro and his wife, calling their capture a kidnapping. Right now, meantime, Maduro, in that image, you see him. It was posted by President Trump. He is on his way to the United States to face drug trafficking charges in the Southern District of New York. Meanwhile, the vice president of Venezuela, Maduro's vice president, her name is Delcy Rodriguez. She just spoke. We've got the audio in now. I want to play for you what she just said to Trump.
We demand the immediate release of President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, the only president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela.
Coming out against Trump. And that is extremely significant, not just because she saw what happened hours ago to the guy on top of her, but also because President Trump, about 2 hours before that, a statement from Vice President Delcy Rodriguez of Venezuela, which I just played. So now we're awaiting Trump's response to that. What does this actually mean? You are there in Mar-a-Lago with the president. What's the response from him?
Yeah, and I don't think it will be a favorable response from the president. You know, he did sound fairly confident that Rodriguez would be going along with this plan. You know,
and it's so funny. I had to stop it there because it's so funny that they did all that buildup, right? She said, well, this is what the vice president, you know, the unelected vice president, that's what they should say. But, you know, the liberals, they're not going to do that. This is what the vice president said. Oh, we want our president back. He is the rightful president. All this nonsense that she's saying, okay? As if we don't know that people say things in public and another in private. Okay. Now, oh, Trump, he said this, and she was going to do whatever he asked. Why isn't she doing it? And this is what she said. I mean, the media played this up. Okay. They absolutely played this up as if, you know, Big Marco, not the little one, but Big Marco would lie. Okay. As if Donald Trump would lie, like we wouldn't be able to see that she doesn't want to do what he says. Right. And so I just found this very interesting that CNN did this because they wanted to make it seem like, well, Donald Trump said this in a meeting and now look, she's not listening, right? Okay. Well, fast forward to today and by golly, we now have a totally different story. She has bent the knee. All right. And when I say she, I do mean the vice president of Venezuela. Okay, here we go.
Venezuela's interim leader is calling for collaboration with Washington as she holds her first cabinet meeting after being ordered by the High Court to assume the role. This after the abduction of Nicolás Maduro by the United States. Donald Trump had warned Delcy Rodriguez that she would have to do exactly what the US wanted and has repeated that the US will run Venezuela in the short term, something that his Secretary of State has stepped back from slightly, focusing more on Venezuela's oil reserves. Well, let's cross now live to Fraser Jackson in Washington. Fraser, for Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez holding the first cabinet meeting. Trump had given her quite stark warnings. To what extent do you think the US is going to try to run Venezuela, put pressure on the leaders there, or how much is it all about simple access to oil?
Yeah, well, there's a bit of a split narrative coming out of DC now. Donald Trump, of course, said that he was going to run Venezuela, but Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, spent the best part of Sunday trying to kind of tone down that narrative, trying to strike a somewhat more diplomatic tone. But Donald Trump continuing that narrative that the US is in control of Venezuela. But in reality, what he means is that the US is trying to influence the interim President Rodriguez to align with US interests and demands. Now, at first, Rodriguez was, of course, hostile in her tone to the US, calling the US operation a barbarity, accusing the US of an oil grab. But then Donald Trump publicly threatened her on Sunday morning, telling The Atlantic that if she doesn't do what's right, she's going to pay a very big price, bigger than what Maduro paid. So then on Sunday night, we get the statement from Rodriguez, which effectively softens the tone from the interim president of Venezuela. In her statement, she said, "We extend an invitation to the US government to work together on a cooperative agenda oriented towards shared development within the framework of international law and to strengthen lasting community coexistence." So that means that she could well then give Donald Trump what he wants, which is access for US companies to the Venezuelan oil industry, but also other industries, which we heard on the plane back from Mar-a-Lago back to DC. Howard Lutnick, the Secretary of Commerce, said that they're also looking into the steel and aluminium industries as well as critical minerals as well. So Donald Trump trying to extend US interests in Venezuela, and it's believed, mainly because he said it came from Donald Trump's mouth itself, that after that is when we will get new elections being pushed for in Venezuela. So new elections not until after the oil industry has been sorted out. But of course, that in itself is a difficult task. What that looks like, we still don't know. So it could be some while off yet.
So again, you had the vice president, okay? You had the vice president of Venezuela going to say, okay, well, you know, we want our president back, and we're not going to do anything that, you know, Donald Trump wants. And you got to remember, and if you haven't seen the opening, in the opening of this live stream, I played Maduro, okay? Maduro, he decided to tell Donald Trump to come for him, okay? And that's exactly what happened. Now, in a little bit, we're going to get into the actual history of Venezuela, because I understand a lot of you don't actually know it, okay? Most of you are recovering leftists, or you could be on the right, but you absolutely still don't know anything about Latin America, all right? You don't understand how it works. And of course, you don't know foreign policy, because let's be clear, every last superpower will go into another region to make sure that the other superpower doesn't get what's in the region, okay? You have this with Iran, you have this with China, you have this with Russia, some places in Africa, okay? You have this all over the globe. So why people don't understand foreign policy, why people don't understand anything foreign, really, but why people don't understand Latin America, I don't know. It's in the same hemisphere as you. You would think people would be more knowledgeable of it. But again, they don't know domestic policies, and it's okay. We're going to talk about it here today. However, with that being said, that is what's going on, okay? That's what's going on. You have a couple things going on. You have the people of Venezuela, you have the oil, most definitely, and you have the superpower in the Western Hemisphere, okay? Just like you have the superpowers in the East, the Middle East, and so on and so on and so on, all right? People seem to think that just because the US won't step in, that others won't step in. Just 48 hours before Trump went there, you know who was there? China. You know who's in Africa? China. Like, I don't understand what people don't get about this, okay? If we don't, they do. So you can pick and choose, all right? You can pick and choose. And you can go down the rabbit hole too if you want to. But I told you guys before, if you aren't willing to actually get out here and do a whole revolution, and I do mean an insurrection where you're taking this whole government out, you got to do what Dave Chappelle said. You got to shut up. Because at the end of the day, that's the only way you get those people out of office. everybody that's beholden to another lobbyist and somebody else in Washington, that's the only way you get them out. And you guys aren't willing to do that because you like certain luxuries, you like certain things, and that comes with the banking cartels and all of that stuff. If you're not willing to get rid of them, you might as well shut up because you're just complaining at that point. So now you figure out how the system works and you play chess. And that's what's happening here. Okay, that's exactly what's happening here. That's exactly what's happening here. So at the end of the day, that's what Donald Trump is doing, playing chess. So now I want to get into Donald Trump and what CNN wants to say about Trump demands total access to Venezuela, including the oil. All right, because CNN gets it wrong every time, but we're going to hear what they have to say about that and Donald Trump being ready to go. All right, here we go.
Though it only accounts for about 1% of the world's oil production.
Venezuela right now is a dead country. We have to bring it back, and we're going to have big investments by the oil companies to bring back the infrastructure. And the oil companies are ready to go. They're going to go in, they're going to rebuild the infrastructure. The oil is just flowing at a very low level, much lower than, even if it was badly run, it should have more income, more oil than what they're doing. So we're going to have the big oil companies go in. They're going to fix the infrastructure. They're going to invest money. Right now, what we want to do is fix up the oil, fix up the country, bring the country back, and then have elections.
CNN's Brian Todd joins us now with a closer look. Brian, obviously a very resource-rich country.
Yes. I mean, look at this, Boris. The largest oil reserves in the world by far, 303 million barrels. The next closest to them is Saudi Arabia with, like, I think 267 billion barrels. They outnumber everyone in that resource by a lot. They have 1/5 of the world's global reserves. And to let you kind of give some perspective here on how they're underperforming with that vast oil reserve, take a look at this. This is their oil production since Nicolás Maduro took power in 2013. You see it there. Now, before that, and like even before Hugo Chávez took power in 1999, they were producing more than 3 million barrels, about 3.5 million barrels per day before Hugo Chávez takes power in 1999, okay? It goes steadily down in the 2000s because of sanctions and other things. Maduro takes power in 2013. Now, oil prices take a hit the next year, so that's part of the reason that they decline. But it's also, of course, his alleged mismanagement of the oil supply and a lot of other factors. Sanctions also play a part. Now, in 2019, that is the year that Donald Trump, in his first administration, placed restrictions on Venezuelan oil exports to the U.S. So that hit them hard. It went down then. They hit rock bottom in 2020 with the pandemic. In 2021, Maduro starts to kind of ramp up the production a little bit. In 2022, then President Joe Biden gives Chevron a temporary permit to operate there. So that helps their production. But again, Boris, take a look. They're still underperforming. As of 2024, they were less than 1 million barrels a day. Right now, they're a little over 1 million barrels a day. They're right about at this point here, and that is less than 1% of the world's production. That's how much Venezuela is underperforming given their reserves there. Who are they sending the oil to? Let's take a look at that. If my graphic can come up here. It's not coming up, but basically they are sending it to mostly to China. China buys about 70% of their of Venezuela's oil. The U.S. buys about 25% of it. That's all due to Chevron's production there.
I think there we go.
There you go. There's our graphic.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, China's they're the big customer.
Right.
U.S. gets about a quarter of it. Then Spain and Cuba trail far behind. This is all due to Chevron. And, Chevron, their stock is way up today as a result of this. And Boris, it has taken a massive toll on the economy overall. Take a look at that. Last October, inflation in Venezuela was at 270%. That is by far the highest in the world. And look at where it's projected to be in October of this year. And again, all because of the mismanagement and the alleged corruption of Hugo Chávez first and Nicolás Maduro, his acolyte.
And so, again, and we're getting ready to get into all of this, but if you don't know, again, America, okay, was the initial investor in Venezuela, okay? America. Nobody else, America, okay? Our production actually helped Venezuela because they didn't have the infrastructure. That was America, okay? Everything that's down there came from American companies. All right. And so again, most people don't know this, don't understand it, can't fathom that the United States had good relations with a lot of countries in Latin America at one point in time. Okay, before embargoes and before, all of these dictators, you did have American relations with Latin America. Okay. So again, when I hear people speak on Latin America, it gets on my nerves because most don't know. All right. And then when we talk about Congress, that is another thing that irritates my spirit, right? Because lately we've only been hearing about, go to Congress, go to Congress, go to Congress, go to Congress under Donald Trump. They haven't been going to Congress since John F. Kennedy. Okay? They haven't been going to Congress since John F. Kennedy. And it only ratcheted up under Clinton. And then, boy, oh boy, they just forgot about it with Bush. And then it wasn't even a thought under Obama. Okay? So when you go back in history and look at what laws have been passed so they don't have to go to Congress, this is why you get what you get. And 90% of it was under Democrats. And so they make these rules that come back to bite them in the ass, essentially, because they want to do what they want to do. They are beholden to their lobbyists, their donors, and all of this stuff. And then when they are not in power and it's used against them, now all of a sudden it's a problem. However, they never used it to actually liberate people. They never used it to actually do something that might, even if it's for the benefit of America, they never used it to actually benefit anybody else. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. They've never done it. Okay? But now that they're not in power, meaning the Democrats and liberals, now that they're not in power and something seemingly seems like it's helpful, okay? Now they want to cry and moan about, oh, nobody went to Congress. Well, they didn't go to Congress for Syria, Yemen, Libya. I mean, I can keep going on and on and on and on and on. All right? They haven't gone to Congress in a very long time, probably since most of our grandparents. But they weren't complaining about it then. And that's the problem, okay? They didn't care about it. They didn't care about taking somebody out of power when they did it to Noriega. They didn't care about that, okay? They don't care about embargoes. They don't care about any of these things, okay? President Obama sat there and had a straight face and lied about Cuba. Meanwhile, Cuba, the Cuban people were protesting against Obama. But they never showed that on mainstream news. And that's because they have an agenda. All right. So when people speak about Latin America, they absolutely usually never know what they're talking about. So let's continue, because this is a topic and a subject that just irritates me, really, because a lot of people don't take the time to actually look any of these things up. So now we've talked about the vice president, right? So now I want to go ahead and get into the next talking point. Okay. So the next talking point I want to get into is Big Marco Rubio. All right. I call him Big Marco because he used to be called Little Marco. And the reason why he was called Little Marco was because of Donald Trump. Okay. Now, Marco Rubio is, doing a phenomenal job, if you ask me. I think Marco Rubio is doing a phenomenal job. A lot of people, seem to not particularly understand what Marco Rubio is doing, in his job, in his role in the world. But with this Venezuelan situation, okay, a lot of people are able to see what Marco Rubio knows. One, Marco Rubio is Cuban, okay? So they're able to see what Marco Rubio knows. They're able to see what Marco Rubio can do. And he's even being, touted as a contender with J.D. Vance. Me personally, I think if he did run, he should be at the top of the ticket, but more than likely J.D. Vance will be at the top of the ticket. However, I want to get into Big Marco because all weekend he's been going against the mainstream media, All right. He's been going against mainstream, and he's been going against pretty much the world, preferably the UN. Okay. As you saw in my opening, I told you the UN is full of it. It's capped. It's whatever. All right. It doesn't trump our Constitution. And they effed around and found out as well. So I want to go ahead and get into Big Marco, not the little one. Here we go.
You're wrong in your question. Number one, Venezuela is a major source. And the reason why is the following. And I've seen a lot of this reporting, and it's fake reporting, and I'll tell you why. It says that somehow Venezuela is not involved in the drug trade because the UN says they're not involved in the drug. I don't care what the UN says. The UN doesn't know what they're talking about. Maduro is indicted by a grand jury in the Southern District of New York. That means the Southern District of New York presented the evidence to a grand jury, and a grand jury indicted him. And then a superseding indictment came out that was unsealed about 1.5 years ago that specifically detailed Maduro's actions. So number one, let there be no doubt, Nicolás Maduro is an indicted drug trafficker in the United States, and he's a fugitive of American justice. You're wrong in your question. Number one, Venezuela is a major source. And the reason why is the following.
So Marco Rubio had to set some stuff straight. You know, the UN likes to come out and say what they want to say. We don't care. Okay. Marco Rubio said, I'm here to tell you, we don't care. All right. Because at the end of the day, this isn't the first administration that had a problem with Maduro. Okay. Just right before the election, you had the Biden administration put bounties on Maduro and the rest of his administration. Okay. You had people like Chris Murphy going back and forth. Okay. Who's a Democrat, going back and forth saying that, hey, Donald Trump, should focus on Maduro. And then when Donald Trump focuses on Maduro, now he's a problem. Like, you can't make this stuff up. These people are hypocrites. All right. Because they didn't do it. Or they didn't know how to, all right? Because their base is absolutely nuts, all right? They want what people are trying to move away from, socialism. You got all of these people out there protesting, and we'll get to it, but you got all of these people out there protesting in New York City as if socialism is the answer. Meanwhile, Venezuelans and Cubans are trying to run away from it, but socialism is the answer. You can't make this stuff up. However, let's move into what Big Marco had to deal with all weekend. Here we go. Can you guys hear it? Let me know if you can hear it. Can you hear it? No sound? Okay. I got you. Let me. All right, here we go. Let's try it again.
I'm confused. Are they still wanted by the United States? Why didn't you arrest them if you are taking out the narco-terrorist regime?
You're confused? I don't know why that's confusing to you.
They're still in power.
It's very simple. You're not going to go in and wrap up. But you can't go. You're going to go in and suck up 5 people. They're already complaining about this one operation. Imagine the howls we would have from everybody else if we actually had to go and stay there 4 days to capture 4 other people. We got the top priority. The number one person on the list was the guy who claimed to be the president of the country that he was not. And he was arrested along with his wife, who was also indicted. And that was a pretty sophisticated and frankly complicated operation.
It was.
It is not easy to land helicopters in the middle of the largest military base in the country. The guy lived on a military base. Land within 3 minutes, kick down his door, grab him, put him in handcuffs, read him his rights, put him in a helicopter, and leave the country without losing any American or any American assets. That's not an easy mission. And you're asking me, why didn't we do that in 5 other places at the same time? I mean, that's absurd. I do think this is one of the most, daring, complicated, sophisticated missions this country has carried out in a very long time. Tremendous credit to the U.S. military personnel who did it. It was unbelievable and tremendous success. And today, an indicted drug trafficker who was not the legitimate president of Venezuela, who we don't recognize, the Biden administration didn't recognize, 60-something countries don't recognize, the European Union doesn't recognize, and many countries in Latin America don't recognize. He was a indicted drug trafficker. He was arrested. His wife was arrested.
Right,
also
and the
indicted,
others,
and they are
the
now
others who
facing
are also
justice in an
indicted are
American
still
system of courts.
The others who are also indicted are still in place. So that's the point of my questioning there. But you talked about not being the legitimate
So you wanted
president.
us to land in 5 other military bases?
No, I'm asking why you chose that this was the limit of the military operation. But to your point that you just made, that that Maduro was not the legitimate president.
He was the guy who was claiming to be the president.
Right. Well, the opposition.
He was the top target.
Okay.
For the stupid liberal, okay, let's break this down for her, okay, in layman's terms. Ma'am, we took out the actual target, okay? The target is Maduro. Now, in order for this not to be a failed state, you leave the rest of the government in charge so that there's somebody running the government. That way, you know what you guys are arguing already, that the United States is in charge. Yeah, we don't want to have one of our people sitting there. So what we decided to do is leave the lesser people without the military and all of that good stuff. We decided to leave them there in place because we know they can't do anything and they're going to listen to us. Yeah, that's what we decided to do. I don't know why she was confused. Big Marco didn't even know why she was confused. Okay. They're so smart and so dumb at the same time. They're so smart and so dumb. Absolutely. Like, I don't understand what you don't get about that. If we go in there and do a Hillary Clinton, we came, we saw, he died, everybody's just going to pop up everywhere. You're going to have this faction, this group, that group pop up, when you can leave the lesser people in charge, but they're really not in charge, as like we showed you here with the vice president of Venezuela, okay, beefing up her chest, but eventually bending the knee. You get what I'm saying? At the end of the day, you don't want it to just fall. You don't want people to just free fall, okay? You don't want a failed state. And that's what happens when usually, you know, rhino Republicans or neocon Democrats go in. Okay, that's what happened in Libya. That's what happened in Syria. That's what happened in Yemen. That's what happened in Afghanistan. That's what happened in Iraq. Okay, that's usually what happens. So let's continue with this last one here with Big Rubio having to deal with Stephanopoulos George. All right, here we go.
But how does the United States intend to secure the oil fields? Won't that take U.S. troops?
Well, ultimately, this is not about securing the oil fields. This is about ensuring that no sanctioned oil can come in and out until they make changes to the governance of that entire industry. Because right now, that industry is non-existent in the traditional way. These oil fields basically are pirate operations. People literally steal the oil from the ground. That's how they hold this regime together. A handful of cronies benefit from this oil, specific oil wells. They're producing at like 18% capacity because the equipment is all decrepit, and they basically pocket the money to their benefit. They sell the oil at a discount in global markets, 40 cents on the dollar, 50 cents on the dollar, but all that money goes to them. Those oil fields have not benefited the people of Venezuela in over a decade, but they have made multi-millionaires, billionaires out of just a handful of people, and that's what's held this regime together. That's what needs to be addressed. The way to address it to the benefit of the Venezuelan people is to get private companies that are not from Iran or somewhere else to go in, invest in the equipment that hasn't been invested in 20 years, because none of the profits that have been made from the oil have been reinvested. It's all been stolen. And that's going to take outside companies that come in and know how to do that. The people who do this stuff will know how to do it. But it all begins with dramatic changes at the way on the way that the authorities that are in charge of that industry behave. And until those changes happen, this quarantine will remain in place.
When I tell you, he was putting the mainstream liberal media to shame this weekend, he was putting them to shame. All right. I don't care what it was this weekend, the weekend, last weekend, all of these programs. Okay. Face the Nation. It is the nation, around the nation, whatever the program was, he dragged them. Okay. He absolutely dragged every last program that he was on, because Marco Rubio is not only astute, he is very well spoken. He absolutely knows foreign policy. Okay, he is from Havana, Cuba. Okay, and he knows what he's doing. All right, when I tell you, he's probably one of the best picks in the administration. He's one of the best picks. And I can say right now, this was a pick that I wasn't too sure about. Okay. I wasn't too sure about. Oh, why? Because I'm Cuban. No, it's no bias. I can tell you guys right now, it's no bias, because I wasn't too sure about Marco Rubio. I really wasn't. When I saw that Trump picked him, I said, I don't know. I don't know, mijo. I don't know. But you know, look at him. He's doing a phenomenal job. So I gotta give props to where props are due. Okay. What yes, on my father's side. Yes. My father's side. So at the end of the day, I absolutely think he did a great job. Did a great job explaining himself and doing what needed to be done, you know, with everything that's going on with Venezuela. Okay. And so he did a phenomenal job. I said he's from Havana, Cuba. Would you like me to play? Never mind. Anywho, you guys get down in the comments and get down in the comments and let me know what you think about Big Marco, not the little one. Okay. Let me know what you think about everything he's done with the whole Venezuelan coalition. Let me know what you think about pretty much Marco Rubio getting everything, you know, in line. All right. So let me know what you think about that. Let me get on to this super chat, and then we are going to get into Venezuela. All right. Let me get this super chat out the way. I want to bring it up. Okay, here we go. All right. So we have Smell the Roses. Hey, hon. Smell the Roses. I have been pronouncing your name wrong. Please forgive me. Thank you for sending people my way. I appreciate you so much. If ever you need me, I am here. You're welcome, darling. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Give me 1 second, you guys. All right, you guys. I had to fix something, but thank you so much, Smell the Roses. I appreciate you. All right, let me get into this last topic here, which is the most important topic, and that is Venezuela. Okay. Now, the reason why this is the most important topic is because it's a lot. It's a lot we got to cover here. Okay. It's a lot. So I want to go ahead and get into that. So let's go ahead and get into Venezuela. Now, we have white liberals that are in NYC protesting. We have them protesting for the release of Maduro. We have people in the streets that are Venezuelan, and they are absolutely for what's happening with Maduro. And then we have, of course, the mainstream media, and then we have the trial of Maduro, his arraignment. Okay. So I want to get into all of this, but I want to start with, of course, our favorites, the white liberals, because they can't seem to get it together. So let's go ahead and start there.
So can anyone in the world just like kidnap an American official now? Can we just kidnap any foreign leader now asking for a friend? You can't just kidnap sovereign leaders, bitch. Oh, but Maduro is This isn't about Maduro, bitch. Venezuela is a sovereign nation. And whether you like Maduro or not, he is the leader of that country, or was the leader of that country. Putting aside the fake concern about the dictatorship as if America doesn't love dictators and we don't prop up dictators all over the fucking world. He doesn't listen to any laws or anything, but you guys know that he was supposed to go to Congress to get approval for this, right? Constitutionally, the president is not allowed to just declare war unilaterally like this, or unilaterally just like bomb a country and kidnap their leader. Like, he's supposed to go to Congress to get authorization from that. Did you see a vote to go to war with Venezuela? Because these bitches don't give a shit about the law. Marco Rubio put out a statement this morning after they captured him, because Marco Rubio is a psycho. That is one of the big drivers behind this, because he's ideologically obsessed. He's one of these right-wing Cubans that is obsessed with destabilizing any part of Latin America in the hopes that it's going to help them overthrow Cuba's government. He put out a statement being like, oh, Maduro's an illegitimate leader. I'm sorry, who the fuck asked you? I love America with our embarrassing clown car of a corrupt government with Trump at the fucking head of it, and nothing but a rogues gallery of corrupt criminals coming out to say that other people aren't legitimate leaders. Where do you think that you have the credibility to talk about that? You just hosted Netanyahu. Trump just hosted Netanyahu, a criminal with a warrant out for his arrest, and then they think that they have any credibility to talk about leaders not being legitimate. Get the fuck out of here. It's like when they pretend to care about freedom. It's a fucking joke. You guys literally prop up and support the Israeli regime as they oppress millions of Palestinians. But we're supposed to believe that you guys care about freedom in Venezuela and Iran? Machado, the hack in Venezuela, because, you know, there's always got to be a partner in this hackery in whatever country we're trying to destabilize, is like, freedom is here. Except it's not. I give it 1 year before we have millions of Venezuelan refugees here, because the country is going to collapse into chaos. Would you look at that? The illegitimate leader that they're going to put in place in Venezuela really cares about Israel. You understand, too, that this is destabilizing to the entire world, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
When I tell you I can't stand this woman right here, I can't stand this woman, because she complains about everything like most white liberals, and most white liberal women. Okay, the haircut says it all. Okay, I don't take myself seriously. I don't care about men. I don't even like men, all that good stuff. All right, and they think that they're so smart. They want to usher in socialism and all the above. Okay, but that is some of the, you know, the pro-Maduro talking points. Like I told you guys before, if you're not willing to actually go to bat, then you're not actually willing to overthrow some things, then, you know, you got to shut up. All right. And you got to play chess. However, here are the rest of the pro-Maduro protesters. Okay. The liberals out here fighting for Maduro's freedom, calling him an absolute hero. Here we go.
President Maduro and Celia Flores, who are kidnapped and being held illegally by the U.S. government across the street, are heroes. They are fighters for the working class. President Maduro was a bus driver, a union activist. He devoted his life to the workers and the poor and the oppressed. Celia Flores was a human rights lawyer who spent her life fighting in the people's cause. Donald Trump, who illegally and unconstitutionally ordered his kidnapping, is a real estate parasite billionaire who never worked a day in his life. Whose side are we on? The crime of President Maduro was to use the oil wealth of Venezuela for the people of Venezuela and not paying it in tribute to the United States.
What?
To build housing for the working class, to provide transportation, to provide health care, not investing it in real estate in Manhattan or on the stock market or in U.S. Treasury bonds.
No, he just invested it in himself, just like Hugo did. Okay. See, and this is the reason why I can't stand people that don't know Latin America. I absolutely don't know what he's talking about. Not only is it cap, it's just stupid. It's absolutely stupid. It's absolutely stupid. What person in their right mind, I know what persons, white liberals, okay? Because that's who's out there. Not one of those people are from Venezuela, are from Cuba, are from anywhere in Latin America. Don't know nobody in Latin America, ain't never been to Latin America. Don't care, okay? All they absolutely care about is, I hate Donald Trump, okay? Donald Trump can just, you know, do CPR, break somebody back from the dead, and they will say, you should sue him. That is how Trump deranged these people are. Absolutely. They're absolutely Trump deranged, okay? And so with that being said, I want to get into, you know, some people really from Venezuela. I want to get into what these people actually know, go through, and what they say, because it's not what the liberals in New York say. It's not what the white liberal women online with the crazy haircuts and that look bat-ish crazy have to say. It's actually their experience. Here we go.
Venezuela, Venezuelan people are criticizing Trump for what he did in Venezuela. They say he bombed and kidnapped our president. No. Let me be clear. That man was never our president. He's a dictator. We didn't vote for him. Our elections were stolen. And when we protested, our kids were sent to prison. Minors were tortured. Girls were forced to prostitute themselves in prisons just to get food, to get a piece of bread. And where were all of you then? Where were all of you, liberals? Where were all of you? Where were all of you? You said nothing. You did nothing. But now you suddenly care about international law? I mean, now you all talk about human rights? Maduro didn't lead Venezuela. He kidnapped an entire country. So no, Trump didn't kidnap anyone. No, he did not. He removed our kidnapper. And for that, we're thankful. You can divide politics all you want, but don't tell Venezuelans, do not tell Venezuelans how to feel about being free from a dictatorship.
Nacho Libre, okay? Nacho Libre told you. Oh, Lord, look, it's just the facts, okay? It's the absolute facts. And the problem that, again, I have with liberals is they absolutely never know the facts. And they're a bunch of hypocrites, all right? They are a bunch of hypocrites to the point or to the tune of that if this was, let's say, Obama not going to Congress, okay, their king, they're at the absolute king, the actual first person that ever said, you know, I want to run for a third term, that Obama, okay, the Obama that used executive power so much, he enacted executive privilege where his attorney general couldn't be subpoenaed to Congress when he was doing Fast and Furious, when they wanted to question him about running guns to Mexico. Obama said, no, nada, nope. All right. And that's because Obama fancied himself commander-in-chief, which he was. And so I want to do a little flashback because liberals, y'all must have forgot.
America is now involved in wars on 3 different fronts: Iraq, Afghanistan, and Libya. And it is the third one that is really causing a lot of issues right now in Washington. Congress claims the president has overstepped his bounds and is abusing the War Powers Act. The White House argues otherwise. CBS News senior White House correspondent Bill Plant has the latest now for us. Bill, good morning.
Good morning to you, Erica. The question is whether the president has the authority to continue military operations in Libya without the specific consent of Congress. The House of Representatives has challenged the president on this. The White House has now answered in a report which says that President Obama is acting in both the spirit and the letter of the law.
Oh.
The law at issue is the Vietnam-era War Powers Resolution, passed over President Nixon's veto. It says the president must get congressional approval to deploy the military in battle for more than a total of 90 days.
The idea of the War Powers Act, when it was passed, was to limit the ability of the president to continue U.S. involvement in a conflict. If you're in it, you're in it. If you're out of it, you're out of it, and we're still in it.
The report released by the White House says the president believes current military operations in Libya don't require congressional authorization because, quote, U.S. forces are playing a constrained and supporting role in a multinational coalition, unquote. It also says that the U.S. forces are not involved in sustained fighting, and there are no U.S. troops on the ground. Lawmakers demanded to know the cost of the U.S. mission in Libya. The White House says it was almost $716 million through June 3rd and is likely to rise to $1.1 billion by September 30th, which is currently the end date for the NATO coalition. In answer to another question from Congress, the report says the operation in Libya has had no significant impact on U.S. efforts in Iraq and Afghanistan. And driving the White House position home, spokesman Jay Carney says Congress should continue supporting the Libyan mission.
Because now
Absolutely. Absolutely. He don't have to tell you guys nothing. I don't have to, we don't have no, we don't have no real boots on the ground. It was an operation in Libya. Y'all want to know how much we spent? $1 billion. Please. Y'all forgot. Y'all absolutely forgot. Y'all forgot all about Barry over here. Y'all forgot. It's okay. I'm here to remind you. Barry told you guys to kick rocks. The Republicans and the Democrats. He told you guys to kick rocks. Okay? And he did it more than once. This is, just my favorite. Libya is my favorite. But absolutely. Okay? But that's what they do. That's what they do. Now, I want to get into another Venezuelan, okay? Because here's the thing. You guys keep bringing up the oil, right? And so I want to just I'm going to scratch the surface on it because it would take so much time to actually do a deep dive. And maybe, I'll do like a members only deep dive, okay? But I do want to scratch the surface of this oil situation because for some of you guys, I don't think you actually get it. I don't think you actually knew what went on in that region. I don't think you know Latin America. And again, it's okay, but at least when you want to disagree, you got to know what actually went on. Okay, so we're going to scratch the surface.
Hi there. Are you an American or other first worlder with democracy privilege who's all of a sudden very, very concerned about the United States taking the oil of Venezuela? Well, let me tell you something. Fear not, because Iran and Cuba have been receiving free Venezuelan oil for decades in exchange of protecting the dictator that has been exiling, killing us, and disappearing us for 26 years. So please, you should be more concerned about the dictator that is killing us, exiling us, and disappearing us than the United States taking our oil. We are not concerned about that. So why are you concerned about that? Be concerned about the imperial powers of Iran and Russia who are already in Venezuela. Thank you. Hi there. Are you an American?
Gracias. So, she told it. All right. She absolutely told it. That is exactly what goes on. The reason why they care so much is because it's Trump. It's Trump. I've never heard so much about Venezuela and Cuba in my entire life. In my entire life. You know how many times I've said, hey, you ever been to Cuba? 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 Most people don't care about Cuba. Venezuela. Where is that? I've had people to say, where is that? So it's very condescending. Because if you are passionate about these things, then you're passionate about it. But most people just have bald-headed reasoning, okay? They just have TDS. Or they're just outright bat-ish crazy. Because, again, last week, it was, Palestine. This week is Venezuela. And wherever Trump goes next week, justice for Germany. I'm telling you, they will make a case for Stalin and Hitler before they say Trump was right. Absolutely, they will. Absolutely, they will. Okay? So it's all TDS. And it's not to say that you guys cannot question Donald Trump. He is the president. He's the politician. You can question that man every which way you like and make him talk. And since he likes talking, you probably will get it out of him. However, most of you just care because you have TDS. And that's the wrong way to go about it, because you're not actually going to try to get the information. You're going to skirt around the real information or all of the information, and you're only going to take the information that leads you to whatever talking point you have instead of all of it. You can not like regime change, because I don't like it. Okay? But it's either this or that. It's either you take it or the other people take it. Okay? Again, I keep saying, if you guys aren't willing to do what needs to be done to take out the entire establishment, play chess. Now, let's get into the actual politics of this oil. This man breaks it down in layman's terms without all that fluff that the mainstream media likes to give you. Here we go.
So this is the comment I keep seeing. Oil. They don't care about Maduro. They want the oil. Oil is the goal. It's all about oil. Oil, oil, oil. Okay, so let's talk about that. Venezuela has the largest oil reserves on Earth. Its reserves are 13% bigger than Saudi Arabia's. But not all oil is the same. Saudi oil is light and easy to refine. Venezuelan oil is extremely heavy, thick, difficult to process, and only certain refineries in the world can handle it. Oil was discovered in Venezuela in the 1920s, and the US was immediately involved. American oil companies literally built Venezuela's oil industry because the country didn't have the infrastructure or the technology to do so. At the time, Venezuela was a poor country with an agrarian economy. It was mostly coffee and cacao plantations. There were no petroleum engineers, no heavy machinery, zero knowledge on how to run a global oil industry. But by 1928, with lots of help from US oil companies, Venezuela was one of the world's top exporters. Overnight, Venezuela became one of the richest countries in the world. During the 1970s, Arab states imposed an oil embargo on the United States because of its support of Israel. This led global oil prices to explode, soaring from $1.80 a barrel to over $11 a barrel, a 500% increase. That crisis shook the entire world economy. That is, except for Venezuela, which suddenly saw billions of dollars worth of oil revenue entering its state coffers. And right after that, in 1975, Venezuela nationalized its oil industry and created PDVSA, Petróleos de Venezuela, or Venezuelan Petroleum, the state-owned company that still exists today. But even after the nationalization of its oil industry, Venezuela still needed the US. Why? Because the US Gulf Coast has huge refineries built specifically for heavy crude, the type of oil that sits under Venezuela. And this arrangement benefited both sides. Venezuela, a country roughly the size of Texas, doesn't have anywhere near the refining infrastructure needed to process hundreds of thousands of barrels of heavy crude oil per day. Venezuela's own refineries can only handle a fraction of what the country extracts, so US refineries processed it. Venezuela got billions in revenue, and American companies profited from the refining operations. Everyone had a reason to keep the partnership going. But without heavy crude, those US refineries struggle. They literally hunger for Venezuelan oil. Now, there's this big misconception that Hugo Chávez, the populist and self-proclaimed socialist president of Venezuela, who died in 2013, took back the industry from the US private interests that controlled it. But that's simply not true. Chávez became hostile to the US politically, yes, but he still depended on the US market. Venezuelan oil continued flowing to American refineries, and Chávez took advantage of the largest oil boom in history, gaining access to billions of dollars in oil revenue. What Chávez did do was purge PDVSA, the state oil company. He fired thousands of expert workers and replaced them with loyalists. Corruption exploded, production collapsed, and the economy imploded. When Chávez died in 2013, he handpicked this man, Nicolás Maduro, as his successor. Maduro inherited a country that was collapsing economically and made it worse, much worse. By 2017, 76 out of 84 PDVSA plants were paralyzed. Venezuela's oil production fell to 20% of its total capacity. Now, I can already hear you in the comments saying, that's because of sanctions. But no, not yet at least. Before 2019, US sanctions only targeted individual Venezuelan officials, human rights abusers, narco-traffickers, and corrupt elites. Venezuela was still completely free to sell its oil to the United States. And it did. The first oil sanctions only came in 2019, under Trump's first presidency. He basically imposed an embargo on PDVSA, the Venezuelan state oil company. Ironically, this hurt US companies too, because they lost access to the heavy crude their refineries are specifically built for. So why sanction PDVSA if American companies hated it? Well, because Maduro suspended elections and was consolidating a dictatorship in Venezuela. The sanctions weren't about oil, they were about politics. It was a move to support the political opposition in Venezuela, which had won an election that Nicolás Maduro refused to accept. So where does that leave us right now? 6 years later, Maduro is completely broke and running out of options. They rely on drug trafficking and illicit activities to survive. Maduro, more than Trump, funnily enough, desperately wants the US companies to reestablish their operations in Venezuela. 2 weeks ago, Maduro even offered Trump all of Venezuela's resources, including all the oil, and also to reduce economic ties with China and Russia, if Trump would just leave him alone. So if it was just about oil, Trump could have just accepted Maduro's offer, but he didn't. So no, it's not just about oil. Oil is just a piece of the story, but it's not the whole story. And you might be thinking, okay, Alex, but if it's not about oil, what is it about? Why is the US about to attack Venezuela? And if you did think that, thank you for asking, because I'll break that down in my next videos.
So when I say this was one of the most, like, my hat's off to this man right here. Okay. And I'm telling you, he has like a whole little series on it. And this was even before, it actually happened. Because I'm telling you, that most people don't understand the relationship with the United States and Latin America. And of course, we do have a bad history in the Middle East. Okay. We do have a bad history of regime change. All right. But Latin America is not the Middle East. All right. One, it's not the same religious beliefs. It's not the same hemisphere. It's not the same climate conditions. Like, everything is different, even though oil is different, as you heard. Okay. Crude oil, light oil, all of that stuff matters. And so you have a difference. You even have a difference in how the people think, because those people were way happier to see America. Okay. Way happy to see the United States than they were in the Middle East. Okay. And that's because there is a difference. And you have to understand that to actually grasp what's going on. Yes, oil is a part of it, but it's not the total thing. Okay. Nobody goes somewhere to do something that they're not going to benefit. Nobody does. But to totally always, and I do mean always, do we have oligarchies here? Do we have this, that, and the third? Yes, we have bad people. We have bad faith actors. We have all of that like every other country. But to make it seem as if America did this, or Donald Trump only did this because of one thing, is absolutely not true. Okay? And that's why you have the people on the ground reacting the way they are reacting, because most don't know. Okay? Most don't know. And most will never understand something like this. I want to show you guys this. This is Venezuela.
Hola.
None of y'all have to do this, right?
Cuéntame, ¿tienen que sacar la comida de la basura? Sí, tenemos hambre. Maduro ahora lo sabe, esta mierda. Hay que cambiar de presidente, jefe, porque no podemos vivir así. Pero
Yeah, the presidente is not giving them anything to eat.
esto es basura. La duda por lo mismo, como estamos en la situación que estamos, imagínense usted, no podemos andar así, tenemos que sacar al presidente y lo queremos sacar. Somos gente de la calle, pero queremos sacar al presidente, lo queremos sacar. No podemos ir más así comiendo la basura. Voy para 36 años y primera vez en mi vida que yo hago esto por mis hijos, por mí. ¿Ves?
¿Cada cuándo tienen que hacer eso?
Okay. You guys know the bread line? Try the food line. Okay. Only maybe twice a month. For hours. That is Venezuela. Okay. That is Venezuela. Okay. That is what the people have been dealing with. Okay. People, oh, the oil. These people have not gotten anything for having all of that oil. The people that were in charge, that put themselves in charge, didn't do anything for the people. But you got the white liberals saying that they do. You got the white liberals saying that they're heroes. And that's because they get to keep their Gucci boots up there in NYC. Okay. They're up there in NYC with rich liberals, maybe some rich immigrants, scammers, all those type of people. They get to be up there with them. They don't have boots on the ground. They don't have people in Latin America. That's what's been happening. So when I hear people, oh, they kidnapped the president. So I could tell you right now how many times I've gone to Cuba and it still looks like 1950. It's not changing. It looks exactly like that. It looks like a bomb hit it. It's absolutely insane. And people absolutely support this nonsense. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So you have all of that. And so where are we now? Now we're here. Okay. This man has been taken from Venezuela. Okay. The unelected president has been taken from Venezuela. And he was arraigned today alongside his wife. Okay. His esposa. And they both do exactly what the people on the ground, the citizens, the, descendants, diaspora, all of them, they will tell you that these people are the worst kind of people. But yet, we have CNN, of course, China News Network, and MS-13 now telling you that these people were kidnapped. And we should be listening to the UN. Absolutely ridiculous. Here we go.
In a tense and historic courtroom moment, deposed Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro pleaded not guilty Monday to sweeping drug trafficking and narco-terrorism charges in a New York federal court, declaring himself a decent man, a kidnapped president, and a prisoner of war. The arraignment marked Maduro's first appearance in a U.S. courtroom since his dramatic capture by American forces over the weekend. Dressed in a blue prison uniform, Maduro stood before Judge Alvin K. Hellerstein shortly after noon and forcefully rejected every accusation against him. "I am innocent," Maduro told the court. "I am not guilty of anything that is mentioned here." U.S. prosecutors accuse Maduro of leading a narco-terror conspiracy spanning decades, alleging he conspired to import massive quantities of cocaine into the United States. His wife, Celia Flores, and his son, Nicolás Ernesto Maduro Guerra, are also charged, along with other high-ranking Venezuelan officials. If convicted, the defendants could face life sentences. Flores entered her own plea moments after her husband. Not guilty, completely innocent, she said. Her attorney told the court that Flores has severe bruising on her ribs and will require medical attention while being held at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Brooklyn. It remains unclear how the injuries occurred. Flores, like Maduro, was captured by U.S. forces on Saturday at their home in Venezuela. Maduro's lawyer also raised concerns about his client's health, telling the judge that Maduro has medical issues that require attention while in custody. Despite standing in a U.S. courtroom, Maduro insisted he still holds power. "I am still president of my country," he declared. Flores echoed that claim, referring to herself as the First Lady of the Republic of Venezuela. Maduro's legal team is expected to mount a sweeping challenge to the case, arguing that he is immune from prosecution as the head of a sovereign state. The United States, however, does not recognize Maduro as Venezuela's legitimate leader, having rejected the results of his last two elections. Near the end of the hearing, defense attorney Barry Pollock told the court that Maduro is entitled to presidential privileges and that voluminous legal filings are coming, including arguments challenging the legality of what he described as Maduro's military abduction. The proceedings lasted less than 30 minutes. Both Maduro and Flores agreed to remain in custody for now. Pollock said he is not seeking bail at this time, though that could change. At the very end of his hearing, Maduro turned and waved to the crowd. One man stood and shouted, "You will pay on behalf of Venezuela." Maduro replied calmly, "In the name of God, I will be free." His next court date is set for March 17th.
And so that is where we are now. Okay. That's where we are. I can tell you right now, Nike stock went all the way up. Nike is they're the real MVP in all of this. Good Lord. I haven't seen so many Nike searches in my life. All right. But you know, I wanted to get into all that because the thing about it, you guys, is you have these liberals, you have these Democrats, you even have some rhino Republicans, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You even have some rhino Republicans that are just absolute Trump deranged. Okay? Am I a person that wants our leaders to definitely abide by the Constitution? Absolutely. Am I a person that wants our leaders to absolutely go to Congress when they want to do something such as a war? Because they're going to be using my money, okay? Your money. Absolutely. But as you see, they never do. They absolutely never do. They never ask the American people anything. And that's because we have allowed it. We have allowed it with the Patriot Act. We have allowed it with so many different laws, legislation. We don't know where to begin. And so to lay that at the foot of this administration is absolute hypocrisy, because the American people have been allowing this for the past, I don't know, my entire life, and probably your mama's entire life. You never questioned it. And now you understand the error of your ways. You've absolutely never questioned one thing, especially when it came to Barry. Because if you question, Barry, then you were the racist, as Omar would say. You are the racist. And if you are the racist, then, what you say is void. And that's why I believe Obama was not just 2.0 Bush. He probably was 5, 10. Because he was allowed to get through more things than Bush could ever. And that was all because he was, quote unquote, black. Never mind. The point I'm trying to make is, if you have a problem with your government, you know where to go, but you don't want to. If you have a problem with the laws, you know what to do, but you don't want to. And that's something that the American people have to start contending with. What are you, from here on out, going to start allowing and not allowing? What are you actually going to pay attention to? The reason why your quote unquote votes don't matter is because you've made them not matter. You've not paid attention to what was going on, to the point where it probably doesn't. And you know where you could start? You could start by knowing the people in your district. So things like the Somalis and them taking everything from you don't happen, because that started on a local level, which is why I pulled up the local news. You could start there, but most of you won't. Most of you won't even say one thing to these Democratic leaders, which is where a lot of the fraud is. But even in these, with these vinyl Republicans, okay, most of you won't say anything to them either. So when you look at everything that's going on, you have people like Madami up there in NYC pushing socialism. You have the socialist people of America, whatever the hell they're called. You have those people pushing socialism. I just showed you people eating out the trash can or the back of a garbage truck. I showed you lines, 36 hours of standing just to get something that might not even last a week. It's called a food bag. But yet, they want to tell you, try socialism. It's awesome. It's great. White liberals will tell you pretty much anything. They will tell you this and say that this is what we should want in America. Meanwhile, you have an opportunity. You have an opportunity to take back your country, starting locally. You have that opportunity, okay? The pressure that the American people put on the Somalis show you can do it. You just have to have the cojones, okay? You got to have something about yourself. Most of us do not. Most of us don't even want to talk about what's going on. Some of us even can't talk about what's going on. People that are in, higher positions. So what can you do? You can start locally. Start by changing the way you think about politics. The reason why I say it's pop culture meets politics, because everything in our culture is political. Everything. Everything you see, from the commercials to the way we dress, all of this. We just talked about Nike. Okay? Everything. It's political. It's there for a reason. Okay? And so as much as I root for Donald Trump, I got eyeballs on him and everybody else. How does this benefit me? How does it not benefit me? And if we start doing that in mass, we don't have to worry about none of this nonsense. But some of you are so in your feelings that you can't see past the forest. And trust me, them liberals don't want you to see past it. Because why, white liberals on these networks tell you what you should be thinking, they do the opposite. I implore you to go look at Nancy's stocks, before Donald Trump, quote unquote, went into Venezuela and see what she did. That's because these people don't care. They absolutely don't give 2 bits about what you got going on. And y'all keep falling for the trap every damn day. Some things you can't change. At least not yet. But you can start. Okay? You can absolutely start. And I know, locally is your best bet. But best believe when you hit them in the knee, they fall like everybody else. The governors, the state representatives. And slowly but surely you start climbing that ladder and seeing who's the real puppeteer. And that's where stuff starts to shake. And then we'll have to make a decision as Americans. But until then, we're going to keep arguing back and forth and doing all this nonsense. And they'll keep pushing their agendas. So, again, it's up to us to do what needs to be done. And that's what's happening in Venezuela. So, you guys, get down in the comments and let me know what you guys think about everything that's going on. Okay? Let me get into these super chats, and then I am going to get into closing here. I appreciate you guys. I really do. Thank you so much. All right, here we go. We got Ocho5. Thank you so much for the $4.99 super chat. How did you learn about this stuff? I want to learn for my future. You know, honestly and truly, I am a nerd. I lie to you not. I am a nerd. All right. I have a mathematics degree, which ought to tell you something. I'm a nerd, but I like to learn. Okay. I don't know everything. And I like hearing about things, even things I don't like. All right. I watch people that are liberals. I watch their stuff too, just to know what I don't like. But I also have to stay informed of what other people think. You know, so I think if you just research, just do your research. Okay. Save things. Keep it in the back of your mind. Keep it, keep it in a place on your computer, and just educate yourself. That's really all I can say. And then get some books. Okay. 2 books I would say that will probably help is I want to say How to Think and Grow Rich, and probably The 48 Laws of Power, and let's make it 3, and The Art of Seduction. Get those books. Start there. All right. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. Let's get into Mr. Joe. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. It looks like another Soros-funded protest. You know it is. You absolutely know it is. They came dressed. Okay, they had signs literally like 10 hours later. It's absolutely no way. I guarantee you, if I go look it up, I probably can find it. Thank you so much for the super chat. The Junior CEO with the $5 super chat. And Mika, we trust. My dues. Thank you so much for the New Year's money. I appreciate you. Chef, thank you so much. Chef 673, $10 super chat. I appreciate that. That guy is an absolute idiot. Maduro was not for the working people in his country. Neither were the past 2 communist leaders before him. All of them failed the people who they viciously ruled over. You are absolutely correct. And, they don't care to absolutely be correct. All they care about is Trump derangement. But I appreciate you. I really do. I had to put it up on a big screen so I could see. Thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. All right, let's get into this one. Agency headquarters with the $2 super chat. Happy holidays. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to 2026. I am too. Thank you. And thank you again, Smell the Roses. I appreciate you. All right. Let's see here. Let's get through all of these really quickly. Chef 673, thank you so much with the $50 super chat. I appreciate you. Thank you. What is being shown is the result of communism, but old bull, what is it? Old bullhorn dude, old bullhorn dude said Maduro was a great leader. F out of here, bruh. He starved and oppressed his people. Yes, he did. And the liberals want this here in America. Yeah, they want it in New York City first, and then maybe California, and then Washington State, and then probably everywhere else. I'm happy for the Venezuelan people. I am too. And I think it should go on over to Cuba, okay? And spread on over to Haiti and DR, okay? Thank you so much for the $50 super chat. I appreciate that. You guys, awesome. Thank you. It's a happy New Year. Chef 673 with a $20 super chat. Really? In the name of God, you will be free. How are you a communist talking about God? You have oppressed and starved your own people and think God is going to help you. Hell nah. To the no. They used to be my soul. Thank you so much. I appreciate this. I appreciate it. Yeah, all communists pretty much think like that, though. To be honest, they all of these people think that they're right. Stalin, all these people. Hillary Clinton, Kamala, Barry. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Let's see here. Did I get everybody? I want to make sure I got everybody. Hold on. I hate when I miss anything, especially super chats, you guys, because I do appreciate you guys. Make sure. I think I did get everybody. Yep, Miss Smell of Roses, I got hers. Yep, so I got everybody. Okay, you guys. Well, that was my presentation for today because I really just wanted to make sure you guys understood that, Venezuela, okay, that Venezuela is a country that is that has been suffering, okay, that has been suffering under their leadership, and that man needed to go, okay. That is the reason why you have all these Venezuelans here. They would like to go home, okay? Venezuela is a beautiful country. They would like to go home, but they can't. All right? And so if people are able to make their country great again, you wouldn't have all this mass immigration that, the Democrats want anyway, but you wouldn't have it. They go and destabilize countries and then send the people here because they want people like the Somalis to be here, so they can use them as an underclass, just like they do with the people in Mexico, just like they do, again, with people from all over the world, okay? And I absolutely am happy for people from from Venezuela, okay? And I'm not interested in going to do regime changes all over the world, but I am interested in making sure that America don't have to keep trying to receive all of these immigrants. Okay? If we have to help some make their country great again so they don't have to migrate here, I'm for that because it costs more to house them here. It costs more when we are in everything is inflated here. Our housing costs are this cost. They're on welfare. They're on this and that and the third, taking this. They're scammers, the Somalis, all of these people. It costs us more when we have to do all of these things. So I think let's do a reset. Let's get everybody straight. Let's get these people back to where they need to go. Let's get this straight, that straight. Let's get these tariffs going. Let's get this stuff going. Again, people, get out, do what you need to do. Ground level, get out, do what needs to be done. All right. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Thank you to everybody in the chat. Thank you to everybody that participated. I appreciate all the super chats. Thank you guys so much. It's your girl, Mika. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I see you guys. I see you, Patrick. I see, hold on. Let me make this big again. You know, I'm blind. I see you, Patrick. I see you, your car. Thank you, your car. I appreciate you. You know I do. Thank you, Kayla. Thank you, Tandy. Thank you, Frankie. I appreciate you. Thank you, Gordy B. Gordy B. Thank you, loud and clear. Thank you, for the new year, Melanet. We just gonna leave it at that. Thank you so much. Thank you, Spaces. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you to T-Brew. Thank you to who else? Who else we got in the building? Thank you to Chávez. I'm sorry, Chávez. Thank you. Thank you to Ski Report. Thank you to Junior. I appreciate you. Thank you to Smell of Roses. Thank you to Josh. Thank you to Michael. Thank you to Jay, the Legend Sports. Thank you so much. I appreciate you for pulling up. Thank you to, is that Alyssa? Thank you to Alyssa for pulling up. Thank you, Sugar Shane. Thank you to Chef. I appreciate you. Thank you for those super chats as well. Who else we have in the building? And also I'm gonna make some more mods. So I see a lot of other new consistent people. So I appreciate you guys, and I'm going to be making new mods as well. Thank you to 48 Right. I appreciate you. Thank you to Nat. Is that Nat Wong? Nat Wong? I think that's what that says. But thank you so much. I appreciate you. Who else we had in the building? Thank you to who else we got in here? I think that's Fawnery Eddie. I gotta get these new names, but thank you so much. Thank you to Scoop. Thank you to Luby Fishin. Thank you to Sean the Don. Okay, thank you to Zach. I appreciate you. Thank you to King. Thank you to Alicia. All right. Thank you to Mike That Dude. I think I got a lot of you guys. Thank you to agency headquarters. I appreciate you, and thank you for the super chats as well. Thank you for the Genius CEO. I appreciate your super chat as well. Thank you, Mr. Joe, and thank you for your super chats. Who else we have? I think I got a lot of you guys. Thank you to Eric Ortiz. Ocho 5. Ocho 5. Y'all are wild. I think I got a lot of you guys. I do appreciate you guys. Mary Young. Okay. I think I did get a lot of you guys. All right. You guys, thank you so much. It's your girl, Mika. I am out. One last thing. Make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and hype the video. All right. It will serve us well. Hype them. It's your girl, Mika. I'm out. Peace. Happy New Year.